right, welcome back. We're continuing conversation on the program this morning. This time around, we're looking at Nigeria and open defecation rankings. It might interest you to know that across the globe, Nigeria ranks third. As of 2000, second. Oh, I'm mixing things up. As of 2015, Nigeria ranks third.
But now
in 2018, and it's been said that Nigeria loses billions of naira and dollars to this open defecation. And so to look at this issue with us, we have a public affairs analyst, Muiwa Hakbara. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure, always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir. Let me start off this way. In case you also want to send in your tweets at RATV AM Cafe to send in your tweet on Nigeria and open defecation rankings. Let me come to the ranking itself. What is wrong with us? Why do we have open defecation all the time? Even if you move along Bere, for instance, you have to be closing your nose because people just go on the street and they do this thing like it's the way and it's the order of the day.
I'll put it down to one, orientation, and then poverty, and lack of, infrastructural decay because of like there are many houses in Ibadan, for instance, that that actually don't have toilets, and it's unimaginable for you to actually conceive a situation where people have a habitation, somewhere you call habitation, and then you will not have somewhere where you do these things, it's actually unbelievable that it happens, but I have seen it. And until recently, when a friend of mine was actually, built a house, and then his own mother complained that I had too many toilets because he had all the rooms suit, all the rooms, and then the mother said, are you building toilets or building a house? She was actually complaining because that's her own mindset. You don't have, whereas it's just the way, it's the normal thing, for you to have, you have to have area where you're going to ease yourself as a human being all the time. It has, in fact, it's a compulsory provision for any human gathering, that you have to have an idea of. You have a house and then you make provisions for that. You actually see houses that don't have toilets.
And now, according to a survey carried out by UNICEF, it was said that 47 million Nigerians, defecate in the open.
I think it's more than that. It must be more than that.
47 million.
Yes, it must be more than that. People don't have toilets in this country, and it's worrisome.
And it was said that the number of GSM and phone that we have in Nigeria is much more than the number of toilets. People prefer to have phone and sets, phones, than to have a befitting toilet.
Well, that's an ingenious comparison, actually, comparing toilets with phones. I wouldn't want to be stark as that, but I think that there is a need for us to give our people a health orientation about the need for them to have toilets in their homes and then use it.
What's the place of mobile toilets, for instance? In order to climb, I know you have mobile toilets all around, that people won't have any other option but to use some of these mobile toilets, and taking a page for those mobile toilets to be cleaned up. What's the place? How can mobile toilet really come into play here?
I can, if it is deployed, especially in urban areas. In fact, it's not even but urban areas first. Then you can now, because the rural settings, they must have, places where they have to do all these things, But for urban areas, mobile toilet is actually a very nice idea. But who pays for it?
But the government, what's the government doing about it? Some of the policies of government geared towards the people, shouldn't it focus on issues like this?
I think so, it should, ordinarily. But you find out that the government is actually overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed with what?
Overwhelmed with other demands, that, it takes a long time thinking about, okay, people still need to have toilets.
Now, if you say that
when you have defaulted,
let's even come down to constituency level. Let me go down to the National Assembly, the House of Assembly. They are representing constituencies here. What are they doing? Shouldn't they look at issues like mobile toilet, for instance, educate your people within the constituency instead of going there for sitting allowances like we see all the time.
Of course, yes, you are right. You are right. They should, because the opprobrium that we suffer from this kind of ranking is actually enormous. It's actually intolerable. I cannot fathom a situation where Nigeria will be, we'll be talking about. Yeah, it's actually it's a disgrace.
Now, it was the Minister of Water Resources that raised this alarm at an event a few days ago. But the question is this. It was said that Nigeria loses 455 billion naira to open defecation because when people go to the open places to defecate, Nigerians contract diseases and all that. And so you spend, because you are not proactive, you begin to spend resources.
Of course.
Now, the question now is this. For year 2018, for instance, the budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Water Resources is just 155 billion naira. And UNICEF has said that annually, to deal with open defecation, Nigeria needs about 97 billion naira thereabout. Whereas the priority of that ministry is irrigation and water supply. And so isn't it misplaced priority? Because you did say that the government is overwhelmed. And I'm wondering, isn't it a case of misplaced priority? We're leaving what we ought to do as a country, focusing on what we ought not to do.
Yeah, I think so. In fact, this particular issue of open defecation that borders on individual health and social health is menacing. And I think that the government at even this local government level, beginning from all the 3 tiers of government, should actually make it a priority for them to do something about it, to be proactive, and make sure that they provide for infrastructure for people to ease themselves,
Now,
instead of controlling epidemic.
Now we have 774 recognized local government areas in Nigeria, and UNICEF has said that open defecation takes place in 771, leaving just 3 out, and that itself is worrisome. Can we begin to look at a situation where all the 7 local government, chairmen across the country would, begin to build, apart from mobile toilets now, maybe in public places and all that? Don't you think that will go a long way?
Oh yeah, of course. It's actually long time in coming, because we are looking at a situation where you have public toilets in public places, all over the whole places, pay toilets and stuff like that. That's what you have in other societies, even if you don't have toilets in your home, you can actually go. For instance, people go to this public cafes, like all these canteens,
Okay.
And public, places to actually go and ease themselves. They will just pretend to buy maybe a snack or something like that, then they use their toilet there. Yeah, because they have issues about their toilet. Either it's not good or it's not functioning, or it's actually absent.
But let's talk about the issue of culture here, because you still see some Nigerians in this age saying they prefer to make use of the open places because they derive some comfort and all that. So the place of culture, because even if the government makes provision and it's not used, we have such public toilets.
Yes.
You understand, that have been abandoned. So the place of culture here, this cultural belief that some persons believe in Nigeria of today that you don't make use of a toilet that a woman have used. Somewhere in Oshodi some time ago, I did see a situation where people were carrying out open defecation and they were greeting each other, bros. Well done and all that. It's worrisome. So the place of culture here.
Yes, I think it's important. That's why we talked about orientation. People have to actually see this thing as a problem. You see, because the first thing is for you to actually realize that you have a problem. Then when you have a problem, you know how to think about what I'm going to do about it. Because people don't even perceive it as a problem.
Okay, we really have to go now. But in rounding up, I would just ask this question. Isn't it a breakdown of law and order in the country itself? Because you realize that people walk away, they break traffic rules, they break issues, and they just walk away with it. For instance, if you take Singapore, if you throw refuse on the road, you get lashes of cane. Of Would you say it's a breakdown of law and order in the system?
Well, of course, when you are talking about institutionalization of human behavior, of course, it comes within that ambit. But the point is this: you have a situation where people have wrong orientation from back in time, and then you want them to have a new something. Maybe they should. The government should actually bring public education to play here. Public education and alert people to about these things, tell them actually. I think there have been some attempts by the national orientation agencies and stuff like that to make sure that people see these things as very, very serious problem. But then it has gotten to a stage where you have to actually do some kind of criminalizing it and then making sure that people go, they are punished.
Even those who have heard of it, even those that have been given orientation, they are culprit themselves.
Yes.
So would you advocate for a situation where security agents
people should be arrested actually? It has come to it's an emergency.
And
now.
they should be put behind
Yes.
bars.
Well, maybe not bars, no, fine them.
Alright, thank you so much, Mr. Mwiwapa.
Thank you.
I'm sure that Nigerian security agencies and security agents, as it were, have just so many things to handle.